Welcome to Brainwaves and Breakthroughs.
Welcome to the deep dive. You ready to dive into something pretty interesting?
Always.
All right. Today we're going to explore something I guarantee you probably use every day, but haven't given a whole lot of thought to the toilet.
Interesting.
We've got a lot of material to work with here.
Oh, yeah.
Historical records, engineering diagrams, cultural perspectives. We even got some space-age sanitation solutions.
Right.
All ready to be unpacked. You might be thinking.
Yeah.
Really? A whole deep dive on toilets.
I mean, it's not the first thing that comes to mind, I guess.
Well, trust me, this is going to be fascinating.
All right, I'm intrigued.
Now, joining me today is an expert to help us navigate all of this information.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I think it's going to be fun.
So let's just jump right into it.
All right, let's go.
Let's start with something we all take for granted.
Okay.
The flush.
The flush.
I mean, we've all seen the water swirl and disappear.
Yeah.
But what's actually happening there?
Well, it's a pretty ingenious bit of physics and engineering.
Really?
Yeah. So when you press the handle,
Okay.
it triggers a valve that releases water into the bowl.
Uh-huh.
And this creates a siphon, which is kind of like a vacuum that sucks everything down the drain.
So it's not just the water pushing the waste away, it's being pulled down too.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And here's where it gets really clever.
Okay.
There's a U-shaped pipe called a trapway built into every toilet.
A trap.
It's filled with water, and that water acts like a barrier to stop those sewer gases from coming back up.
Oh. So that's what keeps our bathroom smelling fresh.
Precisely. The trapway is a crucial part of modern sanitation.
Without it, things would be a lot less pleasant.
That's an understatement.
All right, so we've sent our waste swirling down the drain.
Down the drain.
Where does it go from there?
Well, it starts a journey through a hidden world we rarely think about.
Really?
Yeah. First, it travels through your home's sewer line.
Uh-huh.
It mixes with the water from your sinks and showers,
Mm-hmm.
and then it joins the main sewer line, and that carries waste from your whole neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
Eventually, all that wastewater ends up at a treatment plant.
So it's not just disappearing into some void.
Nope.
There's a whole process to clean it up.
Absolutely. Wastewater treatment is essential for public health.
And for protecting the environment.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. It's a multi-stage process.
Okay.
So in the first stage,
Yeah.
solids are separated from the liquids.
All right.
And then in secondary treatment, bacteria are introduced to break down that organic matter.
So it's like a microscopic cleanup crew.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And finally,
Okay.
in tertiary treatment, they filter and disinfect the water,
Oh, wow.
removing any remaining contaminants.
That's a lot more involved than I imagined.
It is. It's a whole process.
What happens to all that water once it's been cleaned? Does it just go back into the environment?
Well, in many cases, yes.
Okay.
It's discharged back into rivers and lakes or even oceans.
Uh-huh.
But increasingly, we're also seeing treated wastewater being reused
Oh, right.
for irrigation, industrial purposes, and even to replenish groundwater aquifers.
Wait.
Yeah,
So the water that we flush could end up watering our crops
that's right.
or even coming back to our homes.
It's true. It's a testament to how advanced our wastewater treatment systems are.
That's amazing.
What we once considered waste can actually be a valuable resource.
That's incredible. Okay, so we followed the journey of our waste,
Uh-huh.
but I'm curious about the journey of the toilet itself.
Okay.
People have been, going for a long time.
Right.
What did they do before flushing toilets were invented?
Well, the history of sanitation is actually fascinating.
Really?
Believe it or not, ancient civilizations had surprisingly sophisticated systems,
Mm.
like the Indus Valley civilization.
Okay.
They had a complex network of drains and latrines connected to their homes.
Wow.
And the Minoans on the island of Crete had flush toilets over 3,500 years ago.
So flushing toilets aren't a modern invention.
They go way back.
I always thought they were a relatively recent development.
And of course, we can't forget the Romans,
The Romans.
famous for their public baths and sanitation systems.
Right.
They even had public latrines with running water, often located near bathhouses.
Public latrines.
Yeah.
Or everyone just, doing their business together.
Well, it was a much more communal experience back then. Privacy wasn't as big of a concern.
Interesting.
The Romans saw sanitation as a public health issue,
Mm-hmm.
essential for a thriving society.
Makes sense.
Now things took a bit of a downturn in medieval Europe.
Yeah, I've heard things weren't so pleasant during that time.
Right.
No running water.
Exactly.
Mm.
People often used chamber pots inside their homes.
Yeah.
And those had to be emptied somewhere.
Oh, right.
Unfortunately, that somewhere was often just out the window and into the street.
Not a great system.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It made for some pretty unsanitary conditions.
I can imagine.
Disease could spread very easily.
Right.
But it wasn't until the 16th century that someone tried to create a more modern solution.
Is that when the flushing toilet was finally invented?
Well, Sir John Harington, a courtier to Queen Elizabeth I, is often credited with inventing the first flushing toilet in England.
Really?
He even installed one for the Queen.
That's incredible. So why didn't his design catch on?
It was actually quite elaborate and expensive.
Okay.
And more importantly, plumbing technology wasn't advanced enough to make it practical for widespread use.
So it was a good idea, but ahead of its time.
Exactly. It took a few more centuries for the flushing toilet to really take off.
This is already so much more interesting than I expected. I can't wait to hear what happened next in the evolution of the toilet.
It wasn't until the 19th century that we really started to see the pieces come together for the modern toilet.
Oh, okay.
In 1775, Alexander Cumming, a Scottish inventor, patented the S-trap.
The S-trap.
You might not know the name,
Right.
but you definitely know what it does.
What's that?
It's that crucial U-shaped pipe we talked about earlier that keeps the sewer gases from coming back up.
Oh, right. The trapway.
Exactly.
So that's where it all started.
It was a major step forward, and then a few decades later,
Yeah.
Thomas Crapper came along.
Thomas Crapper.
Now, despite the common misconception,
Uh-huh.
he didn't actually invent the toilet.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I always thought his name was synonymous with the toilet.
It's one of those historical quirks.
Yeah.
He was a successful plumber and businessman who popularized and improved the design of the flushing toilet.
Oh, okay.
He created more user-friendly models, and his company was even granted royal warrants.
So he was like the Steve Jobs of toilets,
You could say that.
making them sleek and accessible.
Exactly. His contributions helped make indoor plumbing a standard feature in homes.
Right.
And around the same time, advancements in sewage systems and wastewater treatment were happening,
Uh-huh.
all working together to revolutionize sanitation.
It's amazing how all these different innovations came together to create the systems we rely on today.
It really is.
But speaking of innovations, let's talk about something else that's essential to the whole toilet experience.
Okay.
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
I'm honestly a little afraid to ask
Yeah.
what people used before it was invented.
Let's just say they were a lot less comfortable.
Oh, no.
In ancient times, people used whatever was readily available.
Like what?
Leaves, grass stones, seashells, even snow.
Really? Anything they could find.
The Romans, known for their practicality, used a communal sponge on a stick
Oh, wow.
in their public latrines.
The communal sponge.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll stick with my soft quilted toilet paper.
I think we all would.
Yeah.
Moving through history, things didn't get much better in the medieval era.
Oh, no, really?
They often resorted to rags, mosse.
Not exactly luxurious.
No, not at all.
So when did toilet paper finally make its appearance?
The first mass-produced toilet paper emerged in the mid-1800s,
Okay.
but it was initially considered a luxury item.
It's funny to think of toilet paper as a status symbol.
It's a reminder that things we take for granted today were once considered cutting edge.
Right.
But as paper manufacturing and marketing improved, toilet paper became more affordable and accessible.
Whoa.
And today, we have an incredible variety of options.
Yeah.
From basic rolls to those extra soft multiply versions.
And let's not forget about the eco-friendly options.
Of course, sustainability is becoming a bigger part of the conversation around something we use every single day.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
We've been focusing on the toilet itself.
Right.
But it's important to remember it's just one part of a much larger system.
Yeah.
The sanitation system.
The sanitation system.
Proper disposal and processing of fecal matter are critical for public health and protecting the environment.
Absolutely. It's crucial.
Right, because it's not just about our comfort and convenience.
Uh-huh.
If waste isn't handled properly, it can have serious consequences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Modern sewer systems and wastewater treatment plants play a vital role in safely removing and treating human waste. They prevent the spread of diseases like cholera and typhoid, which were major killers in the past,
That's true.
and they protect our ecosystems from contamination.
I think it's easy to forget about all the work that goes on behind the scenes to keep things running smoothly.
I agree.
We literally flush and forget.
It's a testament to how effective these systems are that we don't have to think about them constantly.
Right.
But it is important to remember they're there and that they play a vital role in our lives.
Yeah.
And even in areas without access to these modern systems,
Okay.
there are solutions.
Like what?
Composting toilets, for example,
Composting toilets.
can provide a safe and sustainable way to manage waste in more challenging environments.
So there are ways to do it right, even without the latest technology.
Exactly.
That's good to know. But I have to admit, this conversation is making me a little curious about the science behind everything.
Okay.
Are there any surprising or interesting facts about poop itself that you can share?
Of course. You might be surprised to learn that the average person produces about a pound of poop per day.
A pound?
Yeah,
Really?
about a pound a day.
I had no idea. What's it actually made of?
It might sound strange,
Okay.
but poop is mostly water, about 75%.
Wow.
The rest is made up of indigestible fiber bacteria, dead cells, and other waste products.
Okay.
The brown color comes from bilirubin,
Bilirubin.
which is a pigment produced during the breakdown of red blood cells.
Okay, that makes sense, but what about the smell?
That lovely aroma comes from bacteria in our gut producing sulfur compounds.
Well, I guess we can thank bacteria for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question about poop before we move on.
Right.
I read somewhere that some animals actually eat their own poop. Is that true?
It sounds strange,
Yeah.
but it's true.
Really?
Rabbits, for example, practice something called kekotrophy.
Kekotrophy.
They produce two types of droppings,
Okay.
hard pellets and soft, nutrient-rich cacotrophs. They eat the cacotrophs to get a second pass at digesting and absorbing those nutrients.
Wow, that's incredible. Oh, nature is full of surprises. Okay, I'm ready for our final stop.
Okay.
On this deep dive adventure, we've talked about toilets on Earth.
Right.
But now I want to know, what about space?
That's a base.
How do astronauts handle things in zero gravity?
Space toilets are a whole other level of engineering ingenuity.
I bet.
Leaving Earth's atmosphere presents unique challenges, and waste management is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I can't even imagine trying to use a regular toilet in space.
Right.
What did they do in those early space missions?
In the early days of space exploration, astronauts relied on simple collection bags,
Collection bags.
essentially glorified diapers.
Oh, wow.
Not very glamorous or comfortable.
I can only imagine. So how did things evolve from there?
As missions became longer and more complex, they needed better
Oh,
solutions.
makes sense.
The space shuttle era introduced the first dedicated space toilet.
Oh, really?
It used airflow to direct waste into a collection container and a vacuum system for liquids.
Okay, that's starting to sound a little more sophisticated.
Like
But what about the International Space Station?
the ISS.
What kind of toilets do they have up there?
The ISS has even more advanced toilets that use a combination of airflow and centrifugal force to separate liquids and solids.
Really?
And get this,
What?
the urine is actually recycled into drinking water.
Wait, they drink recycled pee in space.
It might sound strange,
It does.
but it's a testament to the incredible ingenuity and resourcefulness required for space exploration.
Right.
They have to make the most of everything they have.
So what about the future of space toilets? Are they working on even more amazing technologies?
Absolutely. As we venture farther into space and plan for longer duration missions, they're developing systems that can compost waste and even convert it into energy.
Wow, composting and energy creation in space. That's truly incredible. I'm amazed by how much innovation is going into something we often take for granted here on Earth.
It just shows that human ingenuity knows no bounds, even when it comes to something as seemingly mundane as a toilet.
I mean, it really is mind-blowing to think about how far we've come from those early chamber pots to high-tech space toilets that recycle pee.
Right. It's amazing.
It really is. It's a testament to human creativity and our constant drive to solve problems,
Absolutely.
no matter how challenging they might seem.
And it's fascinating how the evolution of the toilet reflects so much more than just, technological advancement.
Yeah, what do you mean?
It's a window into our changing social norms,
Okay.
our understanding of hygiene and sanitation, and even our relationship with our own bodies.
I have to admit, when we started this deep dive, I thought it might be a little silly, maybe even a bit gross.
I get that.
But it's turned out to be so much more than that. I've learned so much.
Me too.
And I'm honestly a little surprised by how fascinating this whole topic is.
That's the beauty of curiosity, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover, even in the most unexpected places.
And the toilet, something we often take for granted,
Right.
has a surprisingly rich history
It really does.
and a lot to teach us about ourselves and the world around us.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, before we flush this episode goodbye,
Okay.
are there any final thoughts you want to leave our listener with?
As we've seen, the toilet has come a long way. But there's always room for improvement,
Oh yeah, for sure.
especially as we face challenges like water scarcity and climate change.
Right.
It makes me wonder what innovations will shape the future of the toilet. How can we make it even more sustainable, efficient, and accessible for everyone?
Those are great questions. It makes you realize that even something as seemingly simple as a toilet is constantly evolving.
For sure.
There's a whole world of possibilities out there.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday we'll all have those fancy Japanese toilets.
With heated seats.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll be composting our waste and turning it into energy just like they do on the space station.
Now that would be something.
It would.
But in all seriousness, this deep dive has really opened my eyes to a whole new way of looking at something I used to take for granted.
Absolutely.
And I hope it's done the same for you, dear listener, so the next time you find yourself sitting on the throne,
Okay.
take a moment to appreciate the incredible history, technology, and ingenuity that went into creating that porcelain marvel.
It's a story worth pondering.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of toilets. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration. Until then, happy flushing.